So, good day everyone. I am Bernard John Vistal, and in this day I will be discussing the Angiostrongylus cantonensis. So, this lesson will talk about distribution, habitat, morphology, life cycle, pathogenesis and clinical features, immunity, diagnosis and prevention and control. So, let's start. So, what is Angiostrongylus cantonensis? Angiostrongylus cantonensis is a nematode parasite or roundworm that causes angiostrongylus. It is an infection that is the most common cause of eosinophilic meningitis. It is a serious illness affecting the brain and nervous system. And this nematode commonly resides in the pulmonary arteries and right ventricles of rat, which is why ginatawag siya og rat lungworm. And it also spread through contaminated food or water, especially in tropical areas. So, if human ingested it, it can cause again serious illness called eosinophilic meningitis, which is ginaapektuhan niya ang brain and nervous system sa tao. So, the first person who discovered this parasite was Chen Zhenchong, a Chinese parasitologist in Canton, China, in 1935, and he placed in the genus Pulmonema as Pulmonema cantonensis. So, Angiostrongylus cantonensis is primarily occurs in tropical and subtropical regions worldwide. So, first man siya nakita sa Canton, China in 1935. That is why gitawag siya og cantonensis. However, the distribution of Angiostrongylus cantonensis has since expanded to various parts of the world due to factors such as globalization and the movement of hosts. That is why nag-spread ang parasite. And it is commonly found in the region within suitable environment for its hosts, including rats, snails, and slugs. So, kani siya nga parasite is mostly ga-occur sa Southeast Asia, Pacific Island, Austria, and part of Africa, og sa Caribbean, sa Jamaica, Puerto Rico, og sa America, sa Brazil, United States, pero mainly makita sa Hawaii and Southern Station because of its humid and moisture environment. But so far, ang pinakadagan og na-report ani nga case is Thailand. So kani siya nga parasite is endemic sa Thailand, especially sa mga regions nga suitable mabuhi ang host o sa mga environment conditions exist for its transmission. It is because Thailand's tropical country provides an ideal habitats for the intermediate host, which is the snail and slugs. So mauna siya ang intermediate host sa Angiostrongylus cantonensis. As for the habitat of it, once again, this parasite, Angiostrongylus cantonensis, is primarily inhabits the pulmonary artery and right ventricles of its definitive hosts, which is typically rodents such as rats. So, kani siya nga parasite is makita siya sa moisture and humid environment. That is why ideal kaayo puy-an ang pulmonary arteries and ventricles sa host. As for the morphology of this parasite is the adult male nematodes are 15.5 to 23 mm in long or 1 to 2 cm in length, and the width of this is 0.25 to 0.35 mm in wide. And this parasite is also transparent with smooth rounded head, and the esophagus of this is 0.29 to 0.32 0.35 millimeter in long. And the intestine of this parasite is wide but thin-walled. And as for the female are larger, measuring around 18.5 to 33 millimeter in length or 2 to 3 centimeter in length. And ang kalapad niya is 0.28 to 0.5 wide. And the head, esophagus, and intestine of this is similar lang siya sa male. So, as you can notice, kanang naa sa figure B, kanang murag bungot-bungot, ginatawag na siya og bursa, mao nang indication sa male, and kanang sa figure D is adult female na siya with characteristic of barber pole. Spiral, kanang nagtuyok-tuyok mo na siya ang female. So, moving on sa life cycle natay tulo ka host, which is a definitive host or primary host, which is the rat, and intermediate host or the carrier, kana mo na sila ang mga snails, slugs, and us humans or mammals is accidental host. So first, mag-hatch ang egg sa ileum, and the first stage larvae are passed in the rodent through feces. So the first stage larvae shed from definitive or galing mismo sa primary host are ingested by gastropod. So kaning gastropod di ay is isa siya ka type of mollusk or kanang mga snail god or slugs, kanang single coiled shell or nadyo uban nga walay shell. Kanang imagine na lang snails na walay shell, mao na siya. Then once larvae reach the infected, which is the third stage after 2 molts sa larvae in the intermediate host. Then the rat eats the snails or slug, which is katong third stage of worm. So after makaon sa rat ang gastropod, the worm will penetrate the intestine and enters the bloodstream of the host. And this worm moves to central nervous system, o dito sila mag-mature until 5th stage or young adult. And this young adult worm moves through bloodstream again, then reproduces in right ventricle and pulmonary artery. Dito maglay og eggs ang female. Then these eggs travel through bloodstream again all the way to the alveoli. Then this egg begin to hatch into first stage worm. This first stage worm will penetrate the alveoli moving up to the trachea. Then worm, that is why swallowed siya, then expelled as feces again. And if this feces will be expelled, this feces will be eaten by the snails or slugs, and this worm begin to mature to the third stage inside the snail or slug and be eaten again by the rats. And if a person eats snails or raw or uncooked foods, or kanang mga contaminated food or water basin ma-ingest niya ang third stage juvenile. And if ma-ingest niya na, the larvae will penetrate to the intestinal wall and mag-mature siya dito. After dayon ana, ang juvenile kay mag-move siya sa central nervous system, o dito siya mag-mature to 5th stage and die. And if that happens, eosinophilic meningitis occurs. And clinical features: Angiostrongylus cantonensis infections involve larvae ingestion, migration to the central nervous system, where they cause inflammation and tissue damage, triggering a host immune response that may be modulated by the parasites. This will lead to clinical features ranging mild headache, neck stiffness, vomiting, and neurological complication. Next is the immunity. There is no specific immunity for us humans against Angiostrongylus cantonensis infection. However, the immune response to the parasites involved the activation of the innate immune system, particularly neutrophils or katong type sa white blood cell, which are typically elevated in cases of parasitic infection. Neutrophils play a role in combating larvae of Angiostrongylus cantonensis, although they may also contribute to the tissue damage and inflammation in the central nervous system. So diagnosis, we can conduct cerebrospinal fluid analysis if elevated ang white blood cells and to confirm the presence of larvae, and serological assay to detect specific antibody, and imaging tests such as MRI and CT scan. As for the treatment, we have corticosteroid to reduce inflammation, especially in severe cases. Antiparasitic drugs, we have albendazole or mebendazole, and antiemetics to control nausea and vomiting, and analgesic for pain, then monitoring and follow-up checkups, adjuvant therapy to consider additional therapies for neurological complications. Prevention and control, we have food safety, avoid consumption of raw foods or undercooked foods, and proper hygiene, we have to thoroughly wash vegetables before consumption. Rodent control, we have to implement measures to control rat population, minimize exposure, and raise awareness about the risk of Angiostrongylus cantonensis infection.